The state's flood emergency has turned deadly with 2 lives lost on the north coast. A teenager died after being sucked into a stormwater drain, while a man's body was found in a submerged car. The destructive weather has also flooded homes and forced evacuations. Tonight we have reporters in the hardest hit regions along the coast and in Sydney, where the heaviest rain is still to come. First to Paul Kadak at Nambucca. Paul, what's the latest there?
Mark, thousands of people have been told to evacuate their homes as rivers here on the mid-north coast continue to rise tonight, threatening Kempsey and Port Macquarie. And a tragic reminder of just how deadly these floodwaters can be, with 2 people killed, one of the victims a 17-year-old boy. As the storm was moving through and floodwaters rose, 3 mates were waist deep in water searching for golf balls at the Kew Country Club near Port Macquarie when 17-year-old Luke O'Neill disappeared down a storm drain.
2 boys that were with him tried to look for him, and during that process one of those boys was also dragged into the drain pipe.
16-year-old Jed Seymour was washed out into a dam. He was taken to hospital with water in his lungs, but there was no sign of Luke. Friends found his body this morning. The popular athlete was from Bonny Hills. This afternoon, another death. A man's body was found in a car submerged in floodwaters just outside Grafton. Further south, the Macleay River was coming up faster than first thought, and locals in and around Kempsey were told this afternoon to evacuate, with the water set to go higher than the town's levee can handle. 19,000 people have been ordered out of the Kempsey CBD, Smithtown, Gladstone, Kinchilla and Jerseyville, along with low-lying areas of Port Macquarie under threat from the Hastings River. Near Yarunga, Peter Wood watched as the Kalang River swallowed his backyard.
Oh, we were up about 6:30 this morning watching it come up. It's come up about 4 or 5 inches since then.
The rising rivers have now cut the Pacific Highway in several places, and with major flooding still going on, it could be well into next week before it can be completely reopened. Any driver trying to get around this today faces a detour of 740 kilometres. A journey now faced by Paul Rawlingson trying to get to Sydney.
We know pretty much what's going on and we can't go through for 5 days. I'm like, well, I'm going to try the other way, I guess.
Many truckies and tourists have been left stranded, waiting for this crisis to finally ease. At Nambucca, Paul Kadak, 7 News.
Gabrielle Boyle is in Coffs Harbour. Gabby, have floodwaters there peaked as yet?
Mark, floodwaters have peaked here. However, a major flood warning remains in place for the Clarence and Bellinger rivers, which run right through this district. It has caused absolute havoc on the roads, with a number of major ins and outs from the district closed. In addition, it has caused havoc on the train system. One group we spoke to earlier today were trapped on board a train for more than 30 hours. Pulling into station, exhausted but elated.
Ladies, how are we?
These passengers spent the night stranded inside a train north of Coffs Harbour after floodwaters and fallen trees covered tracks. The crew used a chainsaw to clear a path.
And the wind was just knocking them on top of the train everywhere. So it come to a point we couldn't go anymore, the track was all underwater.
Oh, the trees falling down, the line was blocked, and then we had a couple of landslides, and then I think one fell on the roof. Almost 30 hours after boarding, they disembarked in Coffs Harbour. Beaches here are dangerous, and not just for swimmers.
Oh, hey!
Throughout the night, flash flooding inundated low-lying properties.
Well, we got the horses, so we put them in the paddock here, and then we saw the dam coming up, so we actually let them on the hill.
More than 2,000 calls for help as the system moves south. In Sydney, grey clouds as rain set in. Whitewash pounded the coast. The waves made for a bumpy ride on water. Ferries were eventually suspended between Manly and Circular Quay. Smaller boats faced a bigger danger. In Longueville, a sailor was rescued and taken to hospital after his boat capsized. At Cronulla, winds ripped the roof off the Wanda Surf Club. It was meant to host a wedding tonight.
It's basically just lifted and folded back onto itself.
Across Sydney, fallen trees have cut roads. The SES has had more than 400 calls for help and are on standby for more tonight. Gabrielle Boyle, 7 News.
Talitha Cummins is at Bondi Beach this evening. Talitha, it's not just the rain causing problems.
Hello, Mark. No, the winds are becoming quite destructive along the coast tonight, with gusts up to 100 kilometres an hour expected, and that's going to push as far inland as the ranges. Now, rainfall around Sydney was quite patchy today. We had between about 10 and 20 millimetres. It is going to get quite heavy overnight, though, with some widespread falls expected. The heavy rain is contracting south of Port Macquarie now as that low slips further south, and of course for Sydney that means some very wet weather overnight.
Yeah, widespread around 50 millimetres right across Sydney, up to 100 millimetres in places, and that's most likely in areas like on our ranges.
So by mid-morning tomorrow, the worst of it should be over as that rain eases to showers. There could be a storm or two around and the surf conditions will once again be quite dangerous. As for tonight, pretty wild and windy, a good one for indoors and on the couch, I think, Mark.
Yeah, the couch looking pretty good, Talitha. Thank you.